All right, here we go. Page 11, Chapter 2, The Motorcycle. Except for one terrifying moment when the boy had poked his finger through the mouse hole, a hungry young mouse named Ralph eagerly watched everything that went on in room 215. At first, he was disappointed at the size of the boy who was going to live in that room for the next few days. A smaller kid, like 2 or 3 kids even, would have been better. Little messy children were always considerate about leaving crumbs on the carpet. Oh well, at least these people didn't have a dog. If there was one thing Ralph the Mouse disliked, it was a Snoopy dog. Next, Ralph felt hopeful. Medium-sized boys could almost always be counted on to leave a sticky candy bar wrapper on the floor or a bag of peanuts on the bedside table, where Ralph could reach them by climbing up the telephone cord. With a boy this size, the food, though apt not to be plentiful, was almost sure to be good quality. The third emotion felt by Ralph was joy when the boy put that apple core next to the telephone. This was followed by despair and sadness when the mom dropped the core into the metal wastebasket. Ralph knew anything at the bottom of a metal wastebasket was lost to a mouse forever. A mouse lives not by crumbs alone, and so Ralph experienced still another emotion. But this time, food was not the cause of it. Ralph was eager, excited, curious, and impatient all at once. The emotion was so strong it made him forget his empty stomach. It was caused by those little cars, especially that motorcycle, and the brum 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 sound the boy made. That sound seemed to satisfy something within Ralph, as if he'd been waiting to hear it his whole life. Brum, brum, went the boy. To the mouse, that sound spoke of highways and speed, of distance and danger, and whiskers whoosh, blown back by the wind. The instant the family left the room to go to dinner, Ralph scurried out of the mouse hole and across the threadbare carpet to the telephone cord, which came out of a hole in the floor beside the table. "Ralph!" scolded his mother from the mouse hole. "You stay away from that telephone cord!" Ralph's mother was a great worrier. She worried because their hotel was old and run down. She worried because so many rooms were often empty with no careless guests to leave crumbs behind for mice. She worried about the rumor their hotel was going to get torn down when the new highway came through. She worried about her kids finding aspirin tablets. Ralph's dad had tried to carry an aspirin tablet in his cheek, but the aspirin had dissolved with unexpected suddenness, and Ralph's dad had been poisoned. Since then, no member of the family would ever think of touching an aspirin tablet, but this didn't prevent Ralph's mom from worrying. Most of all, though, Ralph's mother worried about Ralph. She worried because he was a reckless mouse who stayed out late in the daytime when he should have been home safe in bed. She worried when Ralph climbed the curtain to sit on the windowsill to watch the chipmunk in the pine tree outside and the cars in the parking lot below. She worried because Ralph wanted to go exploring down the hotel hall instead of traveling under the floorboards like a sensible mouse. Heaven only knew what dangers he might meet in the hall. A maid, a bellboy, maybe even a cat. Or, what was worse, a vacuum cleaner. Ralph's mom had a horror of vacuum cleaners. Ralph, who was used to his mother's worries, got a good running start and was already climbing halfway up the telephone cord. "Remember your Uncle Victor!" his mother called after him. Ralph seemed not to hear. He climbed the cord up to the telephone, jumped down, and ran around to the row of cars. There it was, on the end, the motorcycle. Ralph stared at it, and then walked over and kicked a tire. close up, the motorcycle looked even better than he expected. It was new and shiny and had a good set of tires. Ralph walked all the way around it, checking out the chrome mufflers and the engine and the clutch. It even had a little license plate so it would be legal to drive on the streets. Boy, oh boy, said Ralph to himself, his whiskers quivering with excitement. Boy, oh boy. Feeling that this was an important moment in his life, he took hold of the handlebars. They felt good and solid beneath his paws. Yeah, this motorcycle was a good machine, all right. He could tell by the feel. Ralph threw his leg over the motorcycle and sat jauntily on the plastic seat. He even bounced up and down a few times. The seat curved just right to fit a little mouse like him. But how could he start this? Ralph didn't know. And even if he did know how to start it, he couldn't do much riding up here on the table. He thought about pushing the motorcycle off onto the floor, but he did not want to risk damaging or breaking such a valuable machine. Ralph bounced up and down on the seat a couple more times and looked around for some way to get the motorcycle started. He pulled at a lever or two, but nothing happened. Then a terrible thought spoiled his pleasure. This was only a toy. It would not run at all. Ralph, who had watched many kids in room 215, had picked up a lot of information about toys. He'd seen a boy from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, throw his model airplane on the floor because he couldn't make its plastic parts fit properly. A little girl had burst into tears and run crying to her mom when her doll's arm fell off. And then there was that nice boy, the potato chip nibbler, who stamped his foot because the batteries kept falling out of his car. But this toy could not be like all those other toys he had seen. It looked too perfect, with its wire spokes on its wheels and its pair of shiny chrome exhaust pipes. It wouldn't be right if it didn't run. It wouldn't be fair. A motorcycle that looked as real as this one had to run. The secret of making it run must be perfectly simple if only Ralph had someone to show him what it was. Ralph wasn't satisfied just sitting on the motorcycle. Ralph craved action. After all, what was a motorcycle for if it wasn't action? Who needed motorcycle riding lessons? Not Ralph. He tried pushing himself along with his feet, but this wasn't nearly fast enough. But at least it was better than nothing. He moved his feet faster along the tabletop and lifted them up while he coasted. Feeling braver, he bent low over the handlebars and worked his feet still faster toward the edge of the bedside table. When he worked up a little speed, he would coast around the corner. He scrabbled his feet on the tabletop to get going faster. In a split second, he would steer to the left. But at that moment, the telephone right next to him rang half a ring. So close it seemed to pierce the middle of Ralph's bones. It rang just that half of a ring, as if whoever called realized they had the wrong number and had hung up before the call was finished. But that half of a ring was enough. It shattered Ralph's nerves and terrified him so he forgot all about steering. It jumbled his thoughts until he forgot to drag his feet for the brakes. He was so terrified, he let go of the hand grips. The momentum of the motorcycle carried him forward, over the edge of the table. Down, down, down through space tumbled Ralph with the motorcycle. He tried to straighten out, to turn the fall into a leap, but the bike got in his way. He grabbed in vain at the air with both paws, but there was nothing to clutch, nothing to save him, only empty air. For a fleeting instant he thought of his poor old Uncle Victor. That was the instant the motorcycle landed crash in the bottom of the metal wastebasket. Ralph fell in a heap beside the motorcycle and lay still. That is the end of chapter 2. I'll do chapter 3, which is titled Trapped, tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later. Have a good day.